Hello, I am standing outside Games Workshop, or Warhammer as it is now known. I'm going to go inside, I'm going to take a look at their wares and see what the big deal is. Come with me. Look at this place. It's amazing. There's stuff. Oh, Space Marines there. 3 Space Marines for £4. It's pretty good. I don't know. You might want to get your price gun checked. The last zero is a bit faded. Wow. This place is great. Look at this. I remember I used to come to these places back when they were called Games Workshop as a child, and I couldn't afford anything. And upon my return, with a job and a YouTube channel that's doing okay, I still can't afford anything, which is a shame because I'd like to paint these things. I like these things. They look good. But not £40 good. So let me get this straight. You need about 40 to 100 minis for a 40k army. So that's not great in maths. It's a couple of grand, right? I could buy a car. I don't want a car, but I could buy a car instead of an army. I could buy a gaming PC, like a really top of the line one. I'm not having to go specifically at you, Mr. Games Workshop man. No, I won't leave. Make me. Fine. Hey, hello. I've been away for a little while, but I'm back. Now, this whole video was inspired by this massive mini base. I think this was for one of my giant Nurgle things I never got around to finishing, but I'm going to use it for something else. Not wholly dissimilar from Nurgle, in all honesty, but it's my thing. It didn't cost a bloody fortune. Those of you that have seen my older videos will remember the horror warband I made, starting with these little guys. These are like the maggoty foot soldier things. Made out of polymer clay and bits of wire and such. Cheap things, compared to Games Workshop that is. Also, I made these flying bat-like troop things, made 3 of those, that was another video. And then I made these 2 heavies, I suppose you can call them. They're like giant cows with 2 legs. I imagine them as cows. They don't really look anything like cows. And then there was the big brain monster type thing. There to boss them all around. I imagine she's some kind of queen of the monsters. And there they are. That's my 28mm horror warband so far. But I wanted to make something big, like you get a greater Demon of Nurgle type thing. But I wanted to make my own. And that's what I'm going to do right now. And I tell you what, it will not cost you an arm and a leg. Not like some companies you may have heard of.
When you've been doing this as long as I have, you can crumple tin foil with your mind. Thusly. Later on in the episode, I'll show you how to paint using only your eyebrows.
Now, routinely through this episode, I will be checking that the model I'm building still fits on the base, because that's important. It needs to fit on the base. That's a good rule of thumb. I mean, this might seem obvious, but I'm just pointing it out to you, as if there's some kind of joke coming up later on. This here be my giant box of clay. I use this case because I assume it's airtight. I have no idea if it is. I should probably dunk it underwater with a cat in it or something. See if it survives.
Sculpting. Sculpting.
What are you talking? Hamsters are cheaper. Anyway, for this build I'm going to be using Super Sculpey, medium firm I think it is, or firm, some cosclay for the flexible parts, and then some translucent white Fimo for the teethy things. Now that the ball's covered in clay, I'm checking it still fits on the base, and it does. Phew. Now I also dug out this cherry red Fimo because I'm going to make some kind of gums, and it's always best to make the gums in the colour you want them to be, especially if you're going to be jamming teeth in there and you don't want to have to paint around the teeth. So that's what I did. Using some Super Sculpey Bake and Bond to attach the cherry red clay to the thing, I made like a big butthole looking thing. Pack her up, boy! Now, as if that wasn't grotesque enough, I give this thing cat butthole vibes with a lot of creases. Their butts look like they have tiny black holes in the centre of them, pulling everything tight. Has an invisible force almost drawing us towards it. Must resist. It's teeth making time, and to do this I use the translucent clay. Clay? There's only one syllable in clay. You idiot. I roll them out into little sort of grains of rice, you could say, pointed at both ends. Now, since moving into my new studio / office area, I've lost the pot that I used to bake these things in. So I'm fashioning a kind of tray out of tin foil, ready to put it into the cheapo air fryer. Now, who would have thought that an air fryer used air to circulate? This was actually really bloody annoying. Now here come the old archive. Going to use the archive to cut the teeth in half to double the output. That's why they're pointy on both ends. Each grain of rice is 2 teeth. And I made lots of them. Lots of spares. Always need teeth. You're hanging on that shot a while, Dan. Could always cut it down. It's time to start poking the anus with this tiny ball stick to make some little holes, and then poking all the little teeth in. Un by un, ein by ein, itch by itch. Are any of those languages? And here is the somewhat cliche gaping maw filled with tiny little sharp razor teeth. This has been done to death, this style of mouth, and I don't know why I keep doing it. Partly because it's fun, partly because it looks good, but not too original is it anymore. Especially because Dune came along with those bloody worms. I think that's probably where it came from. Or the lamprey eel. Nature's cliche. Anyway, I'm going to give it some lips, and this is how it turned out. Haha, I made a joke. That is in fact an easy peeler Satsuma that I had on my desk, and I thought I'd film it because it's kind of a similar shape. That is what we in the biz like to call a joke. Do let me know if it landed. You never can tell with these things. Now, I've also continued the teeth up into the lips there, just to give it a bit more detail, and I've added a bit more to its waistline. I'm going to check to see that it still fits on the base. Terrific, it does. Now I have the basic form, the basic round shape, I'm adding lots of little creases, and I add a lot of creases to this thing all the way through this project because I love making creases. Lots of little stringy bits of clay blended in and creased up. Creases make it look better. And here is a spool of armature wire ready to make some tentacly arms. And doing any kind of limbs with this build, I use the cos clay because it's flexible when baked correctly. I'm never sure if I've baked it correctly, and I don't like to bend them too much just in case anyway. But it's more a case of if I drop the model, I don't think it's going to break. That's what I'm worried about. I've textured these tentacles up with the dental tool thing, great for doing creases. Creases. And made not one, but two, but then not even two, because I had a third one in a bit. Asymmetry. If symmetry is beauty, then this thing is ugly AF, yo. Now what do you think are at the end of arms? Mouths. This thing has mouths for hands. Now just take a moment to consider what it would be like having mouths for hands. Every time you scratched yourself, you'd be tasting yourself. You pass someone some food and they'll be like, no, I don't want that. You got your spit on it. You try and write a note on a piece of paper, but you're breathing all over it and it's just blowing about the place. It's an absolute nightmare. No wonder this thing is pissed off. It still fits on the base, which is good. As you can see, I've added the third arm there, the runt of the limbs. Now I need to take another piece of armature wire and do something with the back end of this after poking it a few times. You know, I do these things when I'm filming, poke it, and I don't consider all the sound effects I need to add in, which can be a real pain in the butt sometimes. Now believe it or not, there was a kind of plan for this monster, and it did have a long sort of towel that rested on it on its back. Here's a quick sketch. Wasn't worth showing earlier on, and it's not 100% dissimilar to the original sketch, but it will be different by the end, but not by much. Time to add some more creases to blend the towel in with the rest of the body. I do that a lot. Now I want to draw your attention to this on top of one of its mouths. It's burnt, and I thought, am I cooking this for too long on a high heat? When in fact no, it was the air fryer. The filament is at the top and that hand was too close to the filament. That's why it started burning. See, it took me a while to figure that out. It shouldn't have. I should be smarter, damn it. So I had to start baking this in the oven, which is all the way down bloody stairs. At the end of the towel I wanted some kind of torso shape, but sprouting out of the torso shape I want some kind of antler type tentacle type things, like veins, exposed veins. Now I must admit the inspiration for this did come from the movie The Ritual, which I think was about 2017, I'm not sure. I'm sure someone will correct me. No need to correct me, know-it-alls, I've just checked and it was 2017. Anyway, the monster at the end of that film looked great, and I suggest you watch it just for the monster at the end, but it has this sort of torso at the top where its head is. So I did the same thing. And I gave these tentacle things and covered the tentacles with bacon bond, which gave them rigidity, also gave them a lot more texture so that they don't just look like garden wire twisted around. I also gave it cracking abs. My mind's telling me no! Now I don't know about you, but my buttocks has a giant beak protruding from it. So that's what I'm going to do for this thing. Just so it doesn't feel too left out, I'm going to make a beak. Now to make a beak, I've done it before on a previous video that you may have seen, but YouTube probably didn't push it, so you didn't. I'm going to take out the art shiv and this little scriber, I think it's called, for marking metal and wood, and scratch the crap out of it. First with the art shiv, then with the scriber, and then take a wire brush and brush over it, and it looks great. This is the sort of texture you want on beaks and horns and things like that. Them be some lived-in beaks. Now, as per the usual, gonna add some wrinkles around the beak to blend it into the butt there. Give it a bit of a goiter. I like a good goiter. Not on myself. I am on a diet, thanks for noticing. Did I mention that I enjoy making creases? Now it's time to see that this model still fits on the base. Remember earlier I prepared you for a potential joke involving the base? Well, this is it. It seemed quite funny in my head to pull a smaller base out, place the model on top and realise that it's too big, and I was going to be all like, oh no! But in reflection and now as I edit this, I'm thinking it's not really strong enough. I'll keep it in just so you know the process of making a video like this, but it's not a good joke. It wasn't a very good joke. This is the real base, obviously. I've got the old translucent clay out again because I want to make some kind of ridges, some kind of fleshy protrusions coming out the back of this monster, and coming out of the sides like some kind of mutton chops around the beak. And the reason I want it to be translucent will become apparent later on, because these things are going to look almost like jelly. I mean, maybe not that clear, but you know what I mean. And there it is, held up against the window, so you can see the light coming through that clay. The light doesn't come through the polymer clay, but it comes through the translucent clay. That's the difference. Don't really know what I'm saying. On with the video. Using the same clay, I'm making a bunch of eyeballs, all varying sizes. Once I've made lots of eyeballs, I'm going to cut them all in half and then have double the amount of eyeballs. I don't even use half of these, but it's always good to have spare eyeballs. Now, while I've got you there, I was just wondering, have you seen the latest Bobby Fingers episode? It is a masterpiece. He puts all other crafting videos to shame. Normally I wouldn't big someone up so much, but he's very supportive of my work, and if a guy as funny as him finds stuff that I do enjoyable, then that is validation enough. Thanks, Bob. I'll put a link to his channel in the description, but you all know who he is. I've gone and stuck them eyes on there, and I look. Not an even amount on each side, put them all over the place, a bit like pimples on a greasy teenager's face. There's no symmetry there. And while I've got the translucent clay out, I make some little claw things, which could have been made out of the polymer clay, to be honest. It didn't need to be the translucent Fimo, which is irrelevant. I used the claws all over, like little legs, I suppose, to move itself along. I don't imagine it's a sprinter. This is pretty much it. A mess of eyeballs, claws, teeth and abs. And I suppose that's what makes it a horror, is having no distinguishable form to it. It's time to paint it now. I decided when I went into this project that I wanted to do a very, well, I say very good for me. I wanted to, God, Discord, would you be quiet, Discord? I wanted to do a very good job of painting this thing, and let me just show you something. By Joe, would you look at this? This is the full range of 2 thin coats sent to me by the Duncan Rhodes Painting Academy very kindly. I asked if they had a decent yellow. They said, well, see, we've probably got a couple of yellows we can send you, and then they sent this. I couldn't believe it when I opened up the box. There's people out there that get excited about wristwatches. Well, this is my wristwatch. Get that on a t-shirt. Big thank you to Transatlantic Games and Duncan Rhodes for sending the paints. I already love them. I'll be honest with you, this isn't my first time trying them out. I have painted some things, for example, a little train, which is for an upcoming project. But I won't go into that yet. Focus, you focus. Trying the autofocus out for a change. Come on. That's it. Good boy. Thank you very, very much. It was like Christmas morning. I'm so grateful for those paints. This is kind of the midway stage. A few people said we want the midway face to camera thing. I'll be honest with you, I've already finished the thing. This midway stage thing is actually at the end. I just forgot to do it, so I'm doing it now. It's a bit warm, isn't it? Anyway, the reason this video has taken such a long time to come out is I was ill for a couple of weeks. I've already told my patrons this stuff. Me and my patrons, we have a little back and forth. But I'm back on it. Back on it now. So hopefully I'll be knocking videos out sooner. While I've got you there, while I've got you right there, if you enjoy the videos and you'd like to see them continue, then carry on watching because they'll continue whatever happens. But if you'd like to support the channel, i.e. me, then there is a Patreon. It's like everybody says, if you met those people in real life, you'd probably buy them a coffee or a beer. But all I'm asking for is a pack of stickers or something. Pokemon cards is like a sandwich. All I'm asking for is a sandwich, please, sir. Seriously though, you don't have to. Nobody has to. But I appreciate it. Keeps me going. Anyway, that's the begging section done. Like and subscribe. I've not said like and subscribe in a while. Like, comment, subscribe. Back to the video.
Painting. Painting.
Well, ain't that a lovely thing? Starting off with this wonderful paint job that I'm attempting. Gonna start with some sanguine scarlet. That's a lovely word, sanguine. To sanguinate, I believe, means to let blood. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, leave a comment. Not about that, about something else. I mean, I could just Google what sanguine means. But please, do leave a comment. I also have some hot pink here, and I want to blend from the dark base colour of this sanguine scarlet to the lighter hot pink. But to do that I need this wet palette that is not from Too Thin Coats. Now when you watch a channel like 52 Miniatures with Alex there, he's a very good painter. He will have the two colours on his wet palette and he will get a lovely gradient between the two. I didn't quite manage that. I spent a good couple of days going lighter and lighter with this on all the raised areas. And because there's lots of creases, you know how much I love creases. It was an absolute joy to paint, in all honesty. I really enjoyed painting this thing. And I took some time and some care, which is probably what a lot of you good painters out there do. I just never really bothered. Part of it's because I want to get these bloody videos out. I have to say, I'm impressed with these paints so far. And look at those abs be popping with the hot capitalised pink highlights there. Next it's onto the horns and the beak, and whenever I do beaks, specifically beaks, I start with a light brown colour, a base colour. Cover the whole thing and then get out some black and just dry brush over the top. We want all the cracks to be light brown, because when you actually look at a beak, that's what it's like. All the cracks underneath the actual black shell. It's like an M&M with a black shell. It's not actually anything like an M&M. I don't know why I made that comparison. Next, once that beak's looking all lovely and realistic, I want to paint the fleshy quill bits on the back, and to do this I'm using some speed paints. I don't really like to use speed paints in the traditional way. I can always tell when a model has been slap chopped, is the buzzword, isn't it? But I like to use it to highlight the translucent clay because it's quite see-through. I've done a bit of red and a bit of yellow on the tips here to give these fleshy things a nice gory jellified look. But don't put those paints away just yet. I use the same two colours. I'm saying this like you're making this thing as a step by step. That's not how these videos usually work, is it? Anyway, I use the same two colours on the eyes. Yellow eyes with red rims, looking very veiny, quite nice. On each of the eyes I've drilled a millimetre or so where the pupil is going to go. I probably should have filmed that, but I didn't. And where the pupil is, I paint a dot of black and then surround the pupil with a little thin line of white. Now the reason it is dimpled, recessed, is because it will look a lot better with the UV resin. You'll see that. That's coming up. More to come.
Groan.
Some people say that out loud, don't they? They say groan, like they're an albino. I'm groaning because I have to paint all these individual teeth, the ones that aren't on the gums, by the way. So I do them in a light brown and then highlight them with a bone colour, I believe. And it took a long bloody time. And huzzah! This is it painted. I've painted all the tongues and things a little bit you didn't see there. Pretty much the same patterns over and over again, slightly different, darker tones. You know how it goes. I'm sure a lot of you watching this have painted things before, but I'm quite happy with this. Very happy with the look of it. All it needs now is a bit of UV resin just to make a few of those bits look a bit slimy and gory and standard affair. Now I take a toothpick and do a little drip of UV resin on the pupil and cook that first, so it's a nice raised bump like a lens. And once they're all done, then I glaze over the whole thing with UV resin, make it all look nice and shiny. But the lens really does make a difference. It magnifies the pupil underneath. And once it's all slimified, it's basically done, apart from the base. Now the base has to match the other monsters in this warband. So it's sand, cork rocks and hay tufts or dead grass tufts.